This is VOCM Open Line. Call 709-273-5211 or 1-888-590-8626. The views and opinions of this program are not necessarily those of this station. The biggest conversation in Newfoundland and Labrador starts now. Here's VOCM Open Line host Paddy Daly.
Well, all right, and good morning to you. Thank you very much for tuning into the program. It's Wednesday, November the 12th. This is Open Line. I'm your host, Paddy Daly. David Williams is back in the producer's chair. You'll be speaking with Dave when you pick up the phone to give us a shout to get in the queue, on the air. If you're in the St. John's metro region, the number to dial is 709-273-5211. Elsewhere, toll-free long distance, 1-888-590-VOCM, which is 8626. So I see the Remembrance Day ceremonies were pretty well attended yesterday despite the inclement weather. One thing you notice down at the newly refurbished National War Memorial in downtown St. John's, they did a beautiful job on it. And of course, one of the key ceremonies will take place in St. John's on the 11th of November. While it's really unfortunate the province has to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on security for a good reason, but it's really unfortunate that has to be the case. For people to have such levels of disrespect is astonishing. You wonder also if there are any activities going on behind the scenes to see a ceremonial sentry on duty at the National War Memorial, like happens at the other National War Memorial in Ottawa. So anyway, any reflections on those types of issues? Let's talk about it. Quick sports note to get us going. Generally, we talk about athletic achievements, whether it be by individuals or teams. This morning, it's a volunteer shout-out. This past weekend, the Baseball Canada Fall Convention was hosted by Baseball Manitoba, and the National Volunteer of the Year for minor baseball, Michelle Healy, from this province. Michelle and her husband, Mark, and as a matter of fact, it's their anniversary today, so happy anniversary to the Healys. Michelle takes on an awful lot regarding minor baseball here. So she was the team manager for Canada Games female team, the venue lead at St. Pat's Ballpark this past summer. She manages the Bullpen Canteen down at St. Pat's Ballpark. Also oversees the province's 14U and 16U female programs and deals with an awful lot of logistics there. Fundraising, apparel, organizing travel. So Michelle Healy is the National Volunteer of the Year in baseball, recognized by Baseball Canada. Absolutely fantastic. All right, congratulations to her. And another congratulations to everyone behind the scenes and on the stage at this past Monday's We Stand on Guard Once More fundraiser. Of course, in conjunction with the Canadian Red Cross and to help fuel the Wildfire Relief Fund, raised over $1.2 million. So for everyone who participated as a musician on stage, or David Doyle as the host, or any of the organizers, folks working behind the scenes, another absolutely massive effort. That's really great stuff. $1.2 million. And of course, we spoke with David Doyle here on the show last week, talking about the way that the music and arts community rises up every single time that they're asked to do something in an effort to raise money for one initiative or another. And again, they stood up on Monday evening. This is Music NL Week, so there's going to be a lot of opportunities to catch some shows, maybe be involved with the gala coming up on this Sunday evening. And music is still a big part of the culture here, because of course it is. All right. So, the internet is forever. Social media, which can be fun, but it can be awful, it's out there. No matter if you delete your post or you wipe out your account, very likely someone has screen grabbed what you've posted to hold it over your head into the future. So, I don't put a whole lot of stock in certain things that happen on social media. People get caught up in the confirmation bias, echo chamber, or bubble, or whatever the case may be. But it is an indication of where people's minds are. And whether it be for our children or youth or adults, what you post can indeed come back to haunt you. Whether it be with applying for scholarships, whether it be for job applications, because you know full well people who are involved in adjudicating applications for one thing or another, they will peruse your social media feed. They just will. It happens all the time. Now, this is a very specific issue regarding a newly elected member of the House of Assembly who won up in St. Barb, Lanson Meadows, Andrea Barber. I don't use TikTok, so I was completely oblivious to any TikTok videos that Andrea Barber or anybody else had posted over the years. And this is not an attack on her, but this is a commentary on how we use social media. So for some people, there was plenty of controversy in some of the things she posted. Okay, there's plenty of controversy in many things that many people post. But it does kind of beg a question as to when you wipe out your accounts upon being elected to serve as a politician. And in this case, a minister, the Minister of Tourism, Culture and Recreation. You know, is marketing an important tool inside the tourism portfolio? Absolutely. But on that front, you hire companies like Target, who have done terrific work in branding the province and advertising the province, and to try to encourage people to travel to the province. But the newly minted Minister of Tourism, Culture and Recreation has said some interesting things about tourism. You know, the policy role that the minister will play. It's as much about infrastructure as it is about marketing, because we hire professionals to do the marketing piece. So this is a quote from one of the videos. Now, the government here in Newfoundland has put a lot of money into tourism, but I don't think they got it straight. I don't think they got it right. They should put money into Newfoundlanders, more into the tradition. We hold personal responsibility, as does government, to ensure that Newfoundland and Labrador tradition is preserved. Of course, no question. But questioning the merits of tourism as the Minister of Tourism is highly questionable. You know, the contribution to GDP, and just for money spent in the tourism sector, is well in excess of $1 billion. In addition to that, we know full well that visitors to the province will spend more than folks who are doing the staycation. Like if we go out to Grossmorn as a family, we spend less than people who come to the province from out of province, whether it be from around the country or around the world. So the impact of new money is significant. You know, if we spend our own money in local businesses and whatever the case may be, we're recirculating our own money. So the injection of money from out of province is massive. So I do think it's a legitimate and completely fair question to ask of the Minister of Tourism whether or not that individual, in this case Minister Barber, understands the importance of tourism. Sure, we can talk about the absolute importance of preserving Newfoundland and Labrador culture, because of course we should, and we will continue into the future. But questioning what tourism means to the province, you know, with over $1 billion worth of cash injected, the support of some 20,000 plus jobs. So I'm not really sure that's off to a flying start. And when the social media accounts are deleted, that's only a function of you pressing clicking on your mouse, because it's out there and will remain out there. So if Minister Barber is interested in calling the program to talk about some of these issues, given the fact she's the minister responsible, we of course will welcome the call. And this is not commentary offered as any sort of combative stance that we're taking here. But I don't think it's unfair to ask ministers of various portfolios about their stance on the portfolio and what it means as a minister and the future of one department or another. So anyway, and there's plenty of other questions being asked of some of the videos that were posted. And look, having a bit of fun on social media is one thing. But when the serious nature of being a cabinet minister is part of the conversation, then bit of fun on social media can turn into legitimate questions about one facet of life or another, one stance on public policy or another. So anyway, you want to take it on, we can do it. And I'll get clobbered for that, but that's it, Livy. That's the job, right? All right, and in the world of social media, I'm going to keep talking about this because I think it's important. The way the country, the world's youth is using social media has become extremely problematic. It has. We have talked about very specific things like the utilization of large language models like ChatGPT and Grok on Twitter, and unprovoked requests from a Grok of a 12-year-old boy whether or not he has any nudies he wants to send. I mean, we've also got ongoing court litigation regarding the fact that the interaction over a prolonged amount of time has led to ChatGPT planting seeds of suicide in a young person's mind. So these are not unserious issues, to say the very least. And then artificial intelligence, I might spend a bit more, maybe a little bit too much time thinking about it and reading about it, but let's go to folks who know way more about it than me. Former Google executive, Nobel Prize winning computer scientist Geoffrey Hinton, well understood, he's described as the godfather of artificial intelligence. If he's one of the people behind it, and he is ringing the bell of worry. All right, now, may Mr. Hinton's concerns be somewhat exaggerated? Possibly. But the fact of the matter is that artificial intelligence and its ability to self-learn is happening in breakneck pace. That could be a problem. Look, for it to be utilized in the world of healthcare, to sift through the enormous or copious amounts of data regarding MRI results or CT scans or breast cancer screenings can absolutely be extremely helpful. Now, will it replace some jobs? Likely. But the problem really is, and there's a variety of things we could talk about involving artificial intelligence, and like even governments that are going to rely on it. When the big tech bros, who are not our friends, they're not, whether it be the Bezos or Zuckerbergs of the world, they are not in it for your well-being. They're in it for one thing only, and that's profit, and for their shareholders and themselves personally. So with how powerful AI already is, and getting more and more powerful by the day. Mr. Hinton will go on to talk about wiping out 10 or 20% of humanity. That might be a lot to be saying or considering. But the facts are that with these big companies and these extraordinarily wealthy individuals, they are pushing it hard. Some people think that it's going to be some sort of boost to the economy. I don't know how anybody sees it like that, and if you do have that position, please do share it, because I probably need more information on that front. But these people cannot be trusted. Bottom line, they cannot be trusted. So how they're going to use it into the future is highly questionable. It's not a matter of government overreach and getting involved in a more heavy-handed regulation. But boy, oh boy, to just be oblivious to how these big tech giants are going to utilize artificial intelligence, given the fact the way they use their algorithms for reach and clicks is already ridiculously obscene, it's going to be more and more absurd and dangerous into the future. It just will be. AI can be extremely helpful. There is no question. But in the hands of these people who we cannot trust, it is going to be a huge question in the future. Don't take it from me. Take it from Geoffrey Hinton, former executive at Google, who doesn't have bad things necessarily to say about Google, one of the creators of artificial intelligence. If he's worried, how can we not all share his worry? Now, may he indeed be offering some unbelievable exaggerations? Possibly. But boy, oh boy, I think we should probably listen to him. What do you think? All right. Mention healthcare and utilizing AI, which is going to be helpful in the future. It's also Nurse Practitioner Week. To recognize the role they play in the healthcare system has been under-recognized, I would suggest, over the years. So pilot programs about nurse practitioners, direct billing of MCP, let's just make it a thing. Let's just make it a thing in full. Every nurse practitioner, with his or her training and accreditation and the ability to do so much work in the world of diagnosing, prescribing, managing chronic conditions. Let's go ahead and thank all our nurse practitioners, and hopefully their scope of practice can be utilized in full. Your thoughts? Let's go. All right. Healthcare. This will be a tricky one, but hey, the tricky ones are the most important ones to talk about. We've now been told by the Pan American Health Organization, they've notified Public Health Agency of Canada, that Canada no longer holds measles elimination status. In the province of Alberta, there's more cases of measles there than there is in the entirety of the United States. And we don't even know about the accuracy of some reporting, but measles can be extraordinarily dangerous for some. Not all. Whether it be children under the age of 5, pregnant women, folks with compromised immune systems. Measles, when you contract measles, it can indeed compromise your immune system temporarily. And so consequently, you're more prone to other diseases or infections. So it is a problem. When we hear of these stories, what's remarkable to me is that there's some people in my email inbox, and some names I recognize on social media, who have been talking about vaccines and their skepticism for years. It has certainly ramped up since we were told at one point, which is completely untrue, is that vaccines cause autism. And we know that's not true anymore. But then you have the conversation that really exploded regarding the COVID vaccine. But then that trickled down to other vaccines. And people talk about scientific research, whether the testing is tried and true and accurate. Measles vaccinations, MMRs, I mean, we understand these vaccines and how effective they have been. Are there other contributing factors to stemming the spread of smallpox, and polio, and measles, and mumps? Yes. But vaccines have been a key component of it. And now we are where we are. So while some people are talking about, vaccine skepticism, and yes, questioning science is a role for individuals, but it's also a role for scientists to question science. By and large, individuals, we should probably be questioning government's utilization of science, as opposed to questioning the research directly, because I'm not informed enough to question vaccine research because I'm not an epidemiologist. But the go-to is now all of a sudden, it's immigrants. The same people who tell me that they're skeptical or hesitant or completely opposed to or are anti-vaccine If that was your stance for all these years, and now all of a sudden when things like measles elimination status is lost, all of a sudden you change your tune to blame it on immigrants. The country that sends more immigrants from one country, notably India, people point to the flood of immigrants, as they call it. Now, immigration numbers have been slashed dramatically. Just look no further than the most recent federal budget. But can there be newcomers to the country who are not vaccinated and part of the spread of the disease? Sure. Can it be about the complete disinformation campaigns that have been extremely active over the last number of years contributing to this elimination status being lost? Absolutely. Measles vaccination in India is extremely robust. Extremely robust. They had a hiccup during the pandemic, like most countries did, on a variety of things, medically, scientifically, economically. But vaccination rates in India for measles are extremely high. Extremely high. So can we please try to have realistic conversations, because you cannot have it both ways. You can't be skeptical of a vaccine and then at the same time, in the same sentence, in the same account, the same email, all of a sudden blame it on immigration. Can immigration play a role in the spread of one disease or another? Of course. Absolutely. Is it the main contributing factor here? No. How do we know that? Because vaccination declines are up amongst what group? Canadians. You can do as you see fit. But if the vaccination refusals and those rates have been linked directly to born and raised Canadians, then that's probably the root cause, don't you think? So anyway, and measles can be fairly innocuous, fairly gentle, easy to overcome, but not for everybody. It can be fatal. And even when your immune system can be compromised for weeks or months upon contracting measles, that opens the door for more and more serious infection. So the conversations it's really getting away from us. Anyway, I'll get blasted and blistered for that, but c'est la vie. All right, how we doing out there, Dave? I'll get a couple of more rolling here. All right, there's a story coming up on the VOCM News later about mining regulations and environmental assessments and what have you. It would be nice, even from the Mining Association, so maybe we can reach out to them this morning to have a clear understanding of just how many opportunities present themselves, given the fact that we have dozens of the classified critical minerals and rare earth minerals and elements in this province. On that front, the next wave of nation-building projects has not been released formally, but we have a pretty good idea of what they include. And 3 of the next 6 involve critical minerals, none of which are mentioned regarding this province. The Crawford Nickel Project in Ontario, Sisson Mine in New Brunswick, which is all critical mineral based. Then there's a hydro project in Iqaluit. There's another graphite phase 2 project mine in Quebec. All right, liquefied natural gas, all part of it as well. Where is this province on some of these lists? And you can pick a project, whether it be critical minerals in Labrador, whether it be the Upper Churchill, whether it be, let's see here, Bay du Nord, whether it be the fixed link or what have you, but the next 6 are coming out, we expect today, and this province is not included this go around as well. All right. Last week, there was a Deer Lake man convicted in a Corner Brook court of first-degree murder. And he confessed. And so he had shared a dinner with his grandmother. She was washing the dishes. He snuck up behind her, put her in a chokehold, and killed her. For what? Money. And what was the money for? To fuel his addiction to crack cocaine. It's an extraordinarily sad story. And of course, there's a pretty hefty dollop of evil in that man's head. But the world of addictions, we still have to keep it out there just a little bit more forcefully. People lean on fentanyl when we know the number 1 contributor to overdose deaths in this province is cocaine. But in the world of fentanyl, it's pretty interesting. We've got a problem with the inspections that are not done at ports, but the precursors of fentanyl and the number of drug labs, super labs that we've seen in this country. Some have been dismantled, but it continues to be a problem. Fentanyl apparently was one of the triggers that led the president to engage in ripping up a trade agreement that he signed and said it was a great deal into now what we see in the chaos about the tariffs. So which is it here? So like all of the recent stories, and some 70 people have been killed because of bombs being dropped on boats coming out of Venezuela. They've been classified as narco-terrorists, even though conviction of drug trafficking in the United States does not carry a death sentence, but it does at sea. And people say if you question it, well, you're pro-drugs. Don't be so foolish. It's not about being pro-drugs. And if it's about fentanyl, I think there's reasonable questions to be asked. So this year, I mean, the world of presidential pardons is an unbelievable amount of power to have, number one. Have there been questionable pardons being offered by Democrat and Republican presidents over history? Absolutely. But if all this concern, we're told, that has triggered tariff trade wars and extrajudicial, I was going to say killings, bombings in international waters, how can we square this circle? Do you know who Ross Ulbricht is? Ross Ulbricht was the architect and the creator of Silk Road. It was a dark web place for people to buy and sell all kinds of things, and primarily fentanyl. Humans, weapons, but it was extremely dangerous. He was investigated, arrested, tried, and prosecuted and punished. He had 2 life sentences plus 40 years. And a lot of it was about fentanyl. And now he's been pardoned, sentence commuted. So which is it? Again, the lack of consistency or the hypocrisy of politics is really becoming, maybe I get more frustrated than others because I have to spend so much time thinking about it and reading about it. But which is it, sir? We're on Twitter or VOCM Open Line. Follow us there. Email address is openline@vocm.com. Oh, I just saw a saucy email floating in. How dare I question some person's social media presence? Well, as an individual, by and large, I don't care. As a cabinet minister, I think we all should. All right, we're taking your emails, openline@vocm.com. When we come back, let's have a great show. There's only one way that happens. You're in the queue to talk about whatever's on your mind. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Let's begin on line number 1. Good morning, Kirk. You're on the air.
Good morning, Patty. How are you?
Great today. How you doing?
Not bad. Patty, let's talk about the Wabash Airport. There, 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had a shutdown for just under 24 hours, and there's 0 releases, 0 accountability, and it's going to get worse because TC, being the regulator and the operator, they're washing their hands of one and sweeping under the rug with the other. So like last year when they had to shut down, the fire truck, because the airport met the ARF category again, they needed fire services. They didn't have the equipment properly maintained or properly ready available to go into service. So the fire truck needed tires. That's why the airport was shut down. But you don't see no media releases from Transport Canada, the stakeholders, anything at all. It's all being swept under the rug and hoping to be forgot about.
Can you go back and describe the issue one more time for me, Kirk?
So the fire truck, the ARF truck?
Yeah, okay.
The tires on the emergency vehicle has a lifespan of 10 years maximum. So on May 4th of 2022, I sent an email to have these tires replaced because the Lab City Fire Department was supposed to come over and take over for the ARF, for the airport, but that fell through due to technicalities and municipality stuff. So there's a contractor on site now, but they still failed to replace them tires, and to this day, the runway is still downgraded to a Cat 5 instead of a Cat 6, and Wabash should probably be a Cat 7 airport, depending on what traffic is coming here. It's crazy.
The whole conversation about fire services at the Wabash Airport has been bizarre over the course of a number of years. I mean, it seems to me, unless it was regularly scheduled flights, they sort of undercount the amount of charters that are a big part of the fly-in, fly-out mining sector up there. So when they downgrade it, it comes with the reduction of some services, and consequently, that's just going to see more and more regularly scheduled airline or air traffic probably move away from the Wabash Airport, which is the last thing we need.
You know, but even during COVID and just after COVID, we used to keep a tally internally for our own numbers, and we were still over that 180,000 threshold. But Transport Canada just kept sweeping under the rug, saying, "Oh no, we're not." But they actually were. And even 2 years ago, when Yvonne Jones said that ARF was coming back, by the time they reach 180,000 passengers, they have 1 year to implement it. These guys are 9 months late meeting the ball, but because they are the regulator and the operator, they're getting away with it. If this was St. John's Airport or Halifax, they'd pull their certificate.
Yeah, and I guess we can go directly to the Wabush Airport Authority to talk about what is or what is not happening at the airport. Transport Canada, we've tried Transport Canada on a variety of different files over the last decade plus. It's extremely difficult to get someone from Transport Canada on the program, but we can reach out to the Airport Authority and get their official stance on it. Kirk, happy to try.
But the thing about it is there is no airport authority. Wabush is a Transport Canada ran and operator, one of 7 still in Canada. Like there's St. Anthony, Wabush, Seven Islands, Quebec, Sandspit, BC, Churchill, Manitoba, and 2 other ones. They are the operator and the regulator, so their hands are tied, like they can do what they want and get away with it, whereas an airport authority or private airport has to follow under CARS regulations. But these guys are getting away with it every left, right, and center.
Yeah, I do know they have a Wabush Airport specific committee at Transport Canada, so maybe authority is the wrong word for it, but that's the best I can do, is try to follow up directly with people who are calling the shots at that particular airport to see exactly what's going on and how it has implications regarding their CAT status. Happy to do it.
Yeah, it's only going to get worse, too, because now they have no mechanic or nothing. A mechanic that was there for over 20-something years, he's now left, too, because of the place has gone to the dogs there. There's zero leadership, zero management. A fly-in, fly-out manager just don't work for a northern place like this.
Sounds to me you're 100% correct. So I'll do the follow-up, Kirk, and see if we can. It is generally, like I mentioned, extremely difficult to get someone from Transport Canada on the program, but we will absolutely give it a shot here again today on this particular issue. Anything else you want to tell us about this morning, Kirk?
No, lots of snow in Wabush, and come on with more.
Appreciate your time. Thanks for doing it.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Yeah. So inevitably going to get plenty of reaction to some of the things I say, and that's just nature of the beast. I would encourage folks, like the emails, keep them coming, all good. Some of the emails, though, would be certainly great if they could be translated into a telephone call, because some of the issues are pretty complicated to try to navigate via email, especially when someone who's listening, and we appreciate your support of the program. When you have the time to craft a very detailed, long email, I appreciate it. I don't always have time during the course of a live show to read them and carefully evaluate what you're saying, nor do I have time to respond in full to very in-depth emails. But some of those, if you have the time and the patience and or whatever the right word is to call the program, that'll be certainly well received. Let's take a break. When we come back, Jennifer wants to talk about municipal affairs, and we're going to talk about whatever's on your mind. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Just very quickly, let me open up my phone. So if you were planning on taking a stroll around the Long Pond Trail today, at this moment in time, it's impassable. Absolutely flooded, so don't head that way. Also, on behalf of a listener, this regarding road work, bridge work, and how it's conducted at rush hour. So yes, we're in year 2 of the 3-year to a repair for repairs at the downtown arterial or Pitts Memorial Drive. It's the bridge work. So again, this morning, as reported by many, the backup is about 1 kilometer long. Took 20 minutes just to pass through that section of bridge work that's being undertaken. The question is, can it be done at different times of the day? To start later, even if you have to complicate one busy day of travel, whether it be at rush hour in the morning or rush hour in the evening, and people will continue to ask about nighttime work, weekend work, what have you. So I told them, the listener, I'd put it out there. It's out there. Let's go. Line number 3, Jennifer, you're on the air.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing well. How about you?
Very good. Very good. So I'm calling you today, Patty, about the lack of accountability that I perceive in government. I've been dealing with a situation now since 2024 with respect to practices and policies within my local community relative to the electoral process. And I've been in contact. I ran in a by-election in 2024, and I'm content. I was quite content with the outcome. However, I was not thrilled with the way the election was actually handled within the town hall, in that there was only 2 candidates in the by-election, and sitting on the desk as a deputy returning officer was the other candidate's husband. You know, the ballot box was open, the station was in front of the clerk. There was a whole litany of things that were bothersome, so I reached out and contacted Municipal Affairs. At that point in time, the election was done and dusted, and it was a by-election, so they sent me back a lovely response, probably stock or canned, and it provided me with 8 pages of legislation and told me to go to the courts and file a petition. So that's fine, right? So fast forward to 2025. I think, okay, there's some, I perceive some issues with respect to how council operates. And feel a need for policies and practice. So I throw my hat in the ring again. But prior to that, I contact municipal affairs and say, listen, this is what happened last time. Can we have an assurance, or can you ensure that communications given to the respective parties, that's not cool, that's conflict of interest, it shouldn't happen that way. Essentially, I'm told that the clerk can do whatever they want. That conflict of interest isn't bound to here. The Municipal Act obviously has a gap, because I have that in writing from 2024 that conflict of interest is not a requirement. The clerk does indeed have autonomy, and that the election can go forward as planned. But it was rife with problems, and I'm happy to identify those problems if you want. And at the end of the day, I walked in and it was exactly as before. The ballot box was unsealed. The other candidate's spouse was on the desk. The voting station was in front of the clerk. It just was so inappropriate. And consequently, I contacted municipal affairs again. But I broadened it. I went to conflict of interest, and I went to Elections Newfoundland. And unfortunately, there's been a complete lack of responsiveness from Elections Newfoundland. Conflict of interest was very responsive, and Municipal Affairs continues to send me petitions, copies of legislation for petitions at my cost that I have to file if I have a problem with the outcome of the election. And to me, this just seems so, it's like they're hiding behind legislation. If you know in advance, I think there should be some remedial work done. Like there's issues. A ballot box should never be unsealed. And, in conversation with the clerk, I was told that's the way it's fine. Don't worry about it. No, it's not fine. So, I'm seized here now. Like, I don't know. I've continued to communicate with municipal affairs, and now it's gone crickets. Complete crickets. I've uncovered a whole bunch of items that are inappropriate in my estimation, and perhaps I don't have all the information, but I think by anyone's thought process, you're going to take a look at it and go, that's not right. So I don't know. I put in I call it FIPA, but anyway, I put in a request with respect to communication standards. When someone from the community contacts you and says, "Hey, listen, there's a problem here. Can you provide me with some insight as to how you're going to address it?" And you don't get a response, and you follow up, and you follow up, and you follow up. What is the requirement on the part of government to interact with their taxpayers?
It's a fair question. It's extremely difficult to get a response from an individual minister or otherwise these days, but look, on every single issue, people deserve an answer. I completely understand and agree. When we're talking about faith and the integrity of elections, it's an even bigger topic than, a very specific request about woodcutting permits or something like that. Not to diminish or downplay people's own concerns, but the growing lack of faith in elections is something that governments at every level, and Elections Canada and Elections NL, has to act on. Because before long, if people don't have faith in the results, what do you think that's going to result in? Chaos. Complete and utter chaos. So this is a big issue, and I'm glad you broached it. I try to talk about it every now and then here, whether it be foreign interference, whether it be domestic interference, whether it be inappropriate conduct by returning officers or access to voting stations, what have you. Anything involving elections is something that I'm absolutely keen to talk about. It's important.
Well, and my challenge here is, like you go into so 2024, I go and I identify these problems. Surely there should have been some remedial communication. There should have been some connection with respect to, hey, that's not good. I chose not to follow up in 2024 because, frankly, I didn't put much effort into it. After 2024, and based on the outcome and what I saw at that time, I thought, I'm going to get more involved in this community. And so I started to attend more of the meetings. And the more I attended, the more worrisome it became. So then I thought, 2025, let's try this again. And I know that I'm perceived as someone who's trying to come in and turn things on their head, but no, I'm not. I'm just someone who thinks we have rules and processes for a reason. And elections in particular are very stringent. People want to know that there's integrity here. You can't have a voting station in front of the clerk. The clerk can look at you, and there's all these subliminal and these psychological impacts with respect to who's in the voting in the voting area. And I think that municipal affairs really should have some sort of training program, some sort of awareness piece. There should have been, after 2024, they should have come out and addressed this. And then in September, I sent them another message and said, hey, I just want an assurance that you're on this, guys. And I get it. They probably get a lot of messages from people, and they're not entirely sure of the veracity of the claims being made. When I went in 2025, I did something I shouldn't have done, but I was gobsmacked because the ballot box was completely open. The top hadn't even been put down, and I went and I said at the time, that's wrong. And the response was, it's fine, don't worry about it, right? So then when I came home, contacted Municipal Affairs, and you know what? Not a problem. Hey, you know what? Yeah, they should have sealed that, shouldn't they? Shucks, golly gee whiz. It's frustrating, and I just don't know. I have had some responses from Municipal Affairs. I've had phone calls with them, and I've had response of emails, but I've gone as high as the director. But they're all the same, Patty. They're all go to the courts, file a petition. So what? I should go and spend $400 of my money to cover you because you're not doing your job? And that's how I view it. Do your job. Make sure that every community has the same sets of rules and processes, and that there's compliance, and that people can have faith and trust that Municipal Affairs is doing their job by making sure communities know what's expected of them.
Sure.
Councillors are elected. They have other jobs, and they're busy people. Give them guidelines. Make sure that people understand what is expected of them.
So did you go to the department proper at Confederation Building? Did you go to one of the community engagement offices? Are you contacting Municipal Affairs through the municipal elections website? Because I have. Sorry.
I have reached out via email. I'm in a rural community. I have reached out via email to individuals in all three areas. I have heard, as I mentioned, conflict of interest. I had a telephone conversation, and it was very informative. And, if I were to proceed on in this, which I will, this is just one more way of raising awareness because, I think people, like you said, the electoral process should be fiercely protected. It's not a joke. This is how we put people in place to make sure that they're looking after our money and things are being done right. And I had hoped if I could get on council, I could take a look at something. There was funding apparently received 4 years ago to fix a guardrail. The guardrail's never been fixed. Well, why? Maybe there's a good reason. But this particular guardrail, if somebody hits it, they're going in the ocean, right? So there's reasons. I'm not trying to turn things on its head here. I'm just trying to find out, why things are happening the way they're happening.
And it's a fair question. There's a very specific email for municipal elections at the department, the provincial department. I think it's as simple as municipalelections@gov.nl.ca. Maybe that will find its way to someone who's actually, part of managing the returning officers and those types of things. So that's the very best advice I can give you is that specific email address, or go directly to one of the community community engagement offices as opposed to the minister's office, because that's where the red tape lives. That's where the litany of being pointed to this person and that person becomes a problem, as opposed to getting someone in one of the community offices. So those are the two tidbits I'll try to give you to maybe get you further down the road here.
No, that'd be great. Like, I mean, the reality is, I continue to look at the website. I've been peeking through the website to see what modules are there. Like, do they have actual oversight modules for these people? Like, there's a whole series of supports that could be made available to ensure consistency and to ensure integrity in the process, and actually in day-to-day operations at the community level. And I just don't see it. So I'm wondering, like, what is the role of municipal affairs? Is it not to get involved before the fact, or is it essentially to just parse out legislation and send it to people and say, sorry about your luck, off you go? So I will try the municipal election site that you gave me, and I know your show is widely listened to, and I actually love the fact that you keep your recordings on there. I don't know, yesterday I was looking at 493 recordings. So, I'm going to go, I personally will spend some time, go back in time to see, is there a pattern here? Is there a subset of other issues that support this whole thing? And, somebody at government should be doing that, but heck, I'm retired, I can do it.
Absolutely. And I appreciate your time. I got to get to the break here, but let me know if you have any luck with the community offices and or that specific email.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your time, Jennifer. Thank you. All right, let's get a break in. Boy, I knew it was going to happen. When you bring up questions about anybody's social media presence, especially when you become a cabinet minister, it was going to get some emotional response. And boy, oh boy, you have not disappointed. Let's take a break. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Where am I going here, Dave? Line number two? Fine. Good morning, Doc. You're on the air.
Morning, Paddy. How are you?
Very well. How about yourself?
Not bad, boy. Not bad. Haven't talked to you in a while.
Welcome back.
Thanks. One of the times I talked to you in the past, you might recall, is my granddaughter had lost her watch that she valued very much, and thanks to you and your open line, we found that within an hour or so.
Yeah, someone let us know. That's
today,
good news.
Huh?
Someone let me know that right away, so that's good news.
Yeah, it was right away. I mean, it was really not surprising, but it was amazing. And so today I'm confronted with my grandson, who's 12 years old and a hockey player, and of course lost his glasses somewhere. It could be at Capital Hyundai Extreme. It could be at the Paradise Double Ice Complex, or being 12 years old and on the go. It could be anywhere, but I'm hoping that somebody out there will hear our conversation and either give the RCM a call or give me a call. The glasses are blue, typical just plain blue glasses that are very valuable at this point in time in his life, and we've looked everywhere, and this is the last kick at the cat, let's say. Hopefully out there somebody may have found them and is kind of thinking, well, gee, somebody was without a pair of glasses this morning. I'm going to have a listen to Open Line. Maybe I can locate the owner.
So these are just regular glasses, regular spectacles, nothing fancy?
Just regular blue-framed glasses. Yeah, simple as that. And he's a little tiger of a hockey player, so it was only 2 weeks ago somebody sat on his glasses at one of the arenas while they were all getting ready for hockey. You know what it's like.
Yep.
And we got that straightened out, but now the glasses are lost, and hopefully they'll be found again. And
prescription glasses are pretty specific to individuals, so they're probably of no value to whoever found them. Even if you go to put your own prescription in these new-to-you blue frames, it's a bit ridiculous, right? So they're no good to you. Bring them to the Lost and Found, wherever you pick them up.
Yeah, well, they can call me. I mean, my number is 685-5657. So that'll get me, or I'm sure Dave, if they wanted to call Open Line, Dave would get hold of me. He knows where I am.
Yep.
And other than that, boy, I've been pretty busy with elections, just getting through 3 of them now, municipal, provincial, and federal. Not happy with a lot of it, happy with some of it. That's about the best that I can say about the current political situation. People, I think, in all three elections, people were really, really ready for change. That was the mood was out there. We just, when I say change, I don't necessarily mean party. I mean change in the way things are done, change in direction, change in the ethics behind political decisions, and that's what people really, really hoped for. Didn't happen municipally. Certainly didn't happen federally. I mean, I got to say, Paddy, I'm a great follower of the news, and when I sit down and I look at what's going on with our federal politics, and I look at the same old faces that I looked at doing the same old things that they did when they were ministers under the Trudeau regime, it's just awful. I mean, I see it on the news every day, and I'm looking at these people who I've been looking at forever. It seems like making decisions that are not, I don't think, taking us down the right path. And
such as?
Pardon me?
Decisions such as?
Well, all kinds of decisions, such as the economy, the country, the financial condition that the country is in terms of the debt and the current expenditures, bringing the same old attitudes to the news that I see every single day that were there 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years. I mean, I can ministers who indicated they were going to give it up to be with their families when the Trudeau era was coming to a close, and once it became clear that Trudeau was gone and Carney was likely coming in, then all of a sudden they announced that, no, I'm going to run again. And I'm saying, yeah, well, that kind of decision-making, is that very good when you're a minister of the Crown and we're expecting you to make legitimate decisions that will be firm and well thought out?
Wait now.
You can twist around on a nickel like that, you can do anything.
You don't think that politicians make decisions as to whether or not to run or to resign based in part about who's the leader? Because of course they do.
Sure they do. But I mean, if you make a fantastic announcement and you're a minister, a federal minister from Nova Scotia, for example, and you say you've had your time in politics, you're resigning, you want to be with your family, you want to do this, you want to do that, and you're announcing that you're not going to run again, and then all of a sudden there's a change of leadership, and you say, I think I am going to run again, and I'm saying, well, that was a well thought out decision. You went one road last month, and now you're headed down another road this month.
Okay.
It's all about decision making, Paddy.
Sure. Now, look, your opinion is welcome, as is everybody's here on the show. For me, the issues facing the people of Canada are millions on top of that one.
Sure they are, but we're talking about the people who are going to make those decisions. That are so important to Canadians today. That's what I'm getting at, and we have it in politics all the time. But right now, the people of Canada, the people of Newfoundland and Labrador wanted to see a whole lot of change, and you can name the ministers as well as I can who are taking Canada down the road that we're on right now financially, and they're the same ministers that drove the bus for years and years with Trudeau, and the same ministers that people hoped not to see this time around.
Yeah, and I think there's lots of reasons behind that, and they're complicated, and there's a pretty exhaustive list, and we can get into that another time. But right off the bat, your issue regarding the glasses, I hope they get returned, because that could be a huge nuisance. And a conversation about the politics and the moving parts of the machinations of the campaign and the results. Happy to have that conversation any day with you or anybody else, for sure. Doc, I got to get to the news, but let me know how you make out.
Okay, I'm going to 30 seconds, Paddy. I'm going to leave it with this. We got an opportunity and a hope for change here provincially. I think our majority PC government will remain despite the recounts, and Tony Wakeham and his team have the opportunity now to change the direction around in this province, and I'm confident and hopeful that they will do so. So,
Appreciate the
Have a good
time.
day.
You too, Doc. Take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. Stan, you stay right there. He wants to talk about the fundraiser Monday evening. We stand on guard once more. $1.2 million raised. Absolutely brilliant stuff. I actually tuned into a bit of it. Sounded terrific. That and whatever you want to talk about right after this. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line number 1. Good morning, Stan. You're on the air.
Hi, Paddy. Just want to make a comment on that show Monday night. Enjoyed it very much.
Good.
And all those people donating their time free, they don't charge for it. All those entertainers, and it was great to watch. And want to make a donation, my wife and I, and we waited. We're old folk. We don't text. We go the old-fashioned way, telephone. So we waited best part of an hour. Didn't mind that. Had the phone laid down. It wasn't stuck in my ear. And when the gentleman came on and take my information and that, talking to him for a while, he wanted to know my email and all that. I don't know why he wanted the email, but anyway, we gave it to him. And I said, "Do you want my credit card number?" He said, "By the way," he said, "we got to charge you a fee." I said, what do you mean you got to charge me a fee?" "Well, you have to charge a fee." I said, "Look, I donated to the Cancer Society, Janeway, Red Cross. I don't get charged a fee. You're going to charge me a fee to donate my bit of money, my wife and I, to a good cause, and you're going to charge me a fee." You hear tell that before?
No, I was unaware that there was a fee being charged, to be honest. And I'm not sure what the fee was for.
Everybody a fee that made a donation. I mean, that's a crime. I mean, I'm closer to 90 than I am to 80, and we don't have a big lot of money floating around. And we want to donate to help those people. And going to charge me a fee, going to penalise me more or less, and my wife, to penalise us. We're going to donate a bit of money to help out people. I'm going to penalise us, charge us a fee. You know what happened, Eddie? We didn't give him any money. Wife said, "Don't give him the credit card number," and we didn't give him the credit card number. Now, that's a little bit of money that we're going to give didn't go where it should go, because I didn't like the idea of charging me a fee to help somebody else. That's disgraceful.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a specific credit card transaction fee or what it might have been, because I really don't know the answer to that particular question.
Like I said to you, Paddy, I've done it before. I've donated to those organisations before, like the Janeway and Red Cross and the Cancer Society, and those other places that have those houses up on tickets. I don't want to win a cabin out around wherever it's to. I don't want to win a cabin, but we buy those tickets. If we win a cabin, we got to sell it. It's no good to us. And that house they got up on tickets. We buy tickets and that to raise a bit of money, help, with our organisations raising money. And we can't live in that. We're too old to live in a big place like that. We'd have to sell that. I know there's money come in our pocket if we want it, but it's not the point of that. We just do it to help other people. But they're going to charge me a fee. No, don't work that way with me.
Okay. If you'd still like to contribute to that wildfire recovery fund, you can just go right directly to the Canadian Red Cross and make a donation there.
We would give Red Cross our credit card number, and they could take the money out.
Yeah, there you go. You can do that directly.
I don't like the idea of paying a fee. I mean, all those people on stage, as far as I know, was all volunteer.
Yeah.
And then if somebody, a company that's taking the phone calls, or somebody's taking the phone calls, and we got to pay them to do that, it's not right. Let them volunteer too.
Yeah, fair enough. And I don't know what the fee was associated with, so I really don't have much to say about it. But when we made a donation, when the fund was being created, we donated directly to the Canadian Red Cross, and there was no fee of any sort. So that's what we did.
No, there never should be. I mean, like I said, I'm closer to 90 than I am at 80, and I don't have a lot of money, but when someone needs help, we try to help.
Yeah, sure.
And to charge me a fee, that was disgraceful. And I said, no, forget it. We'll just donate to the Red Cross itself.
Yeah,
That's all I have to say this morning, Paddy. I just waited to talk to you about that because I didn't like that idea. I don't know if anybody else came across that and wanted to pay a fee, or just didn't want to pay it, or they did pay it. But I'm not paying no fee to donate my money to somebody else.
Yeah, and fair enough. And I think when, in the big scheme of things, when we talk about making donations, it's probably worth all of our while, because not everyone's sitting on a big pile of money, but we have that feeling like you kind of feel like you should contribute to some of these causes, including this wildfire relief fund.
Sure.
It's always worthwhile when you look around at the world of charities and not-for-profits to also look at how they operate. And what I mean by that is how much money that comes in the door is spent on operating the charity versus what gets to the issue itself, regardless of what we're talking about. There's some very helpful websites that helps you break down and get into the weeds about how much of your every dollar makes it to the cause versus makes it to salaries and operating expenses and whatnot. Because I think people are curious about that. They want to make sure that their hard-earned money, of which they probably don't have a whole lot of, and they're trying to do something good, they want to make sure the cause gets it. the bulk of it.
Yeah,
anyway.
It's like the gathering place over there. I know there's volunteers over there, but I guess there's people over getting paid. I don't know if the CEO is getting paid, the guy that was premier one time. That I don't know if he's getting a big fat salary or not. But I mean, if I'm going to donate to an organisation like that, even to help people that's in dire straits, and then someone's drawing a big fat salary, I don't like that either.
Now, with someone who's operating, say, for instance, the Gathering Place or some of these big entities, they're managing a lot of people and a lot of money. I don't begrudge someone at the helm of these associations making a salary because, I mean, if you think about what's required to be the executive director at the Gathering Place, there's probably a lot to it. Dozens of staff and dozens, if not hundreds of volunteers, millions of dollars. So, and with the salary comes some actual legitimate fiduciary responsibility and liability. So volunteers aren't going to put themselves in the crosshairs of managing millions of dollars. Very unlikely.
Yeah, you're going to say you need somebody that's well educated into that field, probably like the CEO of a company before. Well, we know who's over there running that now, and his job, he was premier and he was into the police force and all that. But I mean, I'm not criticizing him, but he could be drawing pretty good pension now and salary from what he was involved with before. If he's drawing a big fat salary over there, I don't like that idea either.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of money coming out of an organisation that needs help. And if he's just one of many, probably in those groups that draw salaries, but I don't think they should be drawing salaries. If they can't donate their time, don't go there.
Yeah, well, and your point is understood. For me, like if someone offered me a job managing dozens of people and hundreds of volunteers and millions of dollars to do it for free, I'm not so sure how many people are going to take up that particular responsibility, but I get where you're coming from. Anything else you'd like to say this morning while we have you?
Oh, my friend, you go ahead and take the next call. I appreciate you talking to me.
I appreciate your time. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, I don't know what the fee is about. I mean, I'm sure I can find out here pretty quickly. But just that concept of charities and how they're structured and how much money actually makes it to the cause versus makes it to salaries and operating expenses, what have you, it's probably worth your while to have a look around here. There's a couple of notable ones that I've used. They refer to themselves as charity watchdogs. So I know of two off the top of my head. Charity Navigator and Charity Watch. And so what they do is they basically analyze, they have databases about registered charities, financial filings, and they'll break down percentage of the money that makes it to the cause versus makes it to the aforementioned salaries and operating expenses. It's probably worthwhile. Not everybody maybe thinks about that, but, consider it. Especially when we talk about charities that are operating overseas, it becomes extremely difficult to know exactly where your money is going. So I've done it in the past, and I know there's some charities that we donate to that we've had a look at to ensure that the money is being spent where we think it's being spent or we think it should be being spent. So anyways, that's just something for your own consideration if you're so inclined. Oh, there's a research site too called, what is it? Charity Intelligence Canada, I'm pretty sure. So that one's another good one if you'd like to ensure how your money's being spent when you make a thoughtful donation. Let's see here. Today's a good day to get on. If you're in and around town, it's 709-273-5211. Elsewhere, toll-free long distance, 1-888-590-VOCM, which is 8626. We're taking a break and then we're coming back. Welcome back to the show. You never know what's going to get the big reaction, but Stan's call about a processing fee or transaction fee has got a ton of feedback. So people are sending me even screenshots of, the portion that is covered by fee, and it's fluctuating from 80 cents all the way up to $6 depending on the platform you use to make a donation. So again, we all need to know where we're getting ourselves into when we decide we're going to make a donation. So on top of processing or transaction fees or to fuel the necessary software to process these types of donations, I guess you just have to be aware of what you're doing prior to clicking the final button before you go ahead and make your donation. So, okay, I appreciate the feedback. A very specific mention of, people working at the helm of charities. And apparently plenty of people disagree with my just pretty basic assertion that some charities, it does cost money to operate a charity and a not-for-profit. And so there's always going to be people that get paid. So the question would be, and that's why I went a step further, said, look, there are organizations out there that do that type of research to provide that data analysis of exactly how much money is spent on the cause versus money spent on salary and operating and overhead and the like, which is why I gave out that information. But if we look at some of the bigger charities, just pick one, and whichever one you pick that manages dozens of employees and hundreds of volunteers and millions of dollars, you take on some pretty significant responsibilities, fiduciary responsibilities, liabilities. So I don't know how many people have the appetite to put themselves or expose themselves to enormous risk and enormous responsibility to not get paid in some form or fashion. Now, if the salary is X that you think is reasonable, but someone's getting paid 3X, which is certainly the case at some of the biggest charities and not-for-profits in the country, then that's a question that you'll have to ask yourself as to whether or not you think that your money should be supporting that particular cause. And that's why I leave it up to you. We very seldom, break down very specific charities unless we receive a call from one charity or another, because this show has been spreading it around to a variety of charities, provincially and federally, for a long time. Also, someone asked what I meant about charities that are operating overseas. I think it's been clear over the years that it becomes harder and harder to understand the entirety of the chain. How many hands the money passes through before what you thought you were helping actually gets the help. When it's domestic issues, there is much more robust audits and analysis and revelation of financial data. But when you start getting multi-jurisdictional charities operating, whether it be in the Middle East or in Africa or what have you, not to say that some of these charities aren't doing everything humanly possible to make sure the maximum money spent is on the cause that you think you're supporting, but it does become very difficult to find and follow a $100 bill that you made a donation of by the time it makes its way to pick a place, whatever you want to pick, Gaza. It's sometimes hard to know how that money and whether or not the help that you think you're trying to provide actually makes it to the people who need the support. On that front, so plenty of people extremely crooked about the conversation regarding the measles elimination status, which the country has lost, and even the conversation about immigration. In the most recent budget, a couple of things. It's a complex issue, but immigration numbers have been cut dramatically in the most recent federal budget. Dramatic cuts, like 43%. And of course, immigration comes in many forms and fashions. There's different silos between refugees and asylum seekers, international student visas, people on the pathway to permanent residency, people who are targeted for skilled trades and or healthcare, what have you. So it's a different issue for many different forms of newcomers to the country, I would say. And the numbers have been cut a lot. Here's where I think part of the conversation has been lost, and I'm pretty sure we had Dan Kelly from the Canadian Federation of Independent Business on the program. Temporary foreign workers, I should put that one out there too, and there is no federal wage subsidies specifically for temporary foreign workers. But it's interesting when you hear from business groups, because overall spending is up in Canada. When the population grows, of course, spending is going to grow as well. But as the CFIB says, overall spending will indeed be compromised because individual spending is down. When the population grew, overall spending up. But that's a worry that business owners have across the country because individual spending is down. Why? Obvious reasons. Household debt is huge in this country. The amount of credit card debt is huge. The cost of living pressures are right there for all to see. So, of course, it stands to reason that for the vast majority of Canadians, your disposable income is not what it was 10 years ago. The value and the purchasing power of your dollar is way down. So that's one of those concerns that people don't want to hear about, but the CFIB, the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, thinks is a problem that's going to happen when we see immigration numbers cut. Now, there's a huge difference in cutting the number of people that would be welcomed on asylum claims or refugee claims or for permanent residency and international students. The cut for international student visas is a strange place to start. I mean, if we're talking about brain drain and the need for so many people in categories regarding science and technology and engineering and mathematics and all the rest of it, it does become a pretty curious place to start when we talk about cutting numbers. Now, it's completely legitimate when there was a careful examination done about just how many of these student visas, international student visas, are being given to folks for these unaccredited, in some cases fly-by-night colleges in Ontario, for instance. And there was plenty of them. It's also completely fair to ask about subsidizing of education and the international student visa as it pertains to whether or not the education is gained and then immediately they leave. So they're fair questions to be asked, but that's where immigration as a very generalized conversation at 100,000 feet above sea level probably doesn't get down to the brass tacks of, all of the different silos of pathways to coming to Canada and what it means. And then just a quick one on the measles elimination status that the country has lost. For so much of the blame to be heaped on newcomers of the country, again, if we look at vaccination rates for measles in this case, at the countries with which we see a lot of emigration happen from, number one contributor to population growth here regarding newcomers is India. It is. And vaccination rates for Indians, East Indians, is extremely high. So, not so sure that's the group of people that are solely responsible for the issue regarding whether or not people are willing or hesitant or skeptical of vaccines. And saying that a measles vaccine has been a big part of the elimination status, yes, there are many things that have also helped control and to eliminate measles in this country. And one of those concepts of what they call high fencing. When a pocket of measles is identified, what they talk about is the high fence approach. Herd immunity is one thing, but the high fencing is basically the surrounding population. And this can be surrounding population of daycare families, surrounding population of school communities, and or communities, municipalities at large. So I get myself in a lot of trouble here, but that's part of it. Let's check in on the Twitter box for VOCM Open Line. You can follow us there. Email address is openline@vocm.com. When we come back, we're speaking with you. The topic, entirely up to you. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line number one. Say good morning to the Liberal member elected in the voting district of Gander. She's the opposition tourism, culture and arts critic. That's Bettina Ford. Bettina, you're on the air.
Hi, good morning, Patty.
Good morning to you.
Hi, I just wanted to call in. I heard you reach out earlier to Minister Barber to call in and speak to some of the issues that came about earlier this week. And just wanted to clarify my statement that I made on Monday and speak to some of the concerns that I have. There's a lot of chatter about this on social media. Minister Barber herself posted about things around being bullied. So I just want to be clear that I have no intention of tearing her down, like official opposition or not. I've spent my entire life building people up. So to be clear, I have zero issues with her social media around cooking and exercising, the dancing videos on TikTok. Although the one of her playing with clay or Play-Doh and pretending it's poop, that's a little bit questionable, but I guess she found that amusing. My concerns as the tourism critic, really there are two. One is the social media content itself that she posted prior to being elected related to the sector that she's now minister responsible for. And then second, the removal of that social media and what that indicates to us.
And of course, you can speak to whatever concerns that you have. For me, as a minister, if there are specific comments about tourism and the importance of tourism or the arts or culture or recreation, that's something that I would be interested in speaking with the minister about. And like you, I have no interest in tearing anyone down. That doesn't do me or anybody listening to the program any good. And content that was outside of that, whether it be the Play-Doh bit or any dancing or I don't care about that stuff. My brain just doesn't have space to worry about those things. I'm more worried about individuals, Andrew Barber and everybody else who is an elected official, their own personal thoughts on the ministerial portfolio that they inherit and how that impacts public policy. That's where my concerns are. The other stuff, it's a bit too frivolous. What that means, people will have their own opinions on it, and I'm welcoming your opinion on it. I'm really focusing on the tourism piece personally.
Yeah, 100%. And I have a lot of background and experience having worked in the sector, worked with people and supported the sector. And, this sector, $1.4 billion industry in Newfoundland and Labrador, over 20,000 people employed. So we think about the hundreds of businesses who rely on this thriving tourism industry. So for me, what was concerning and what my statement addressed is when Minister Barber, granted prior to being elected, talking about investment in tourism from the government of Newfoundland and Labrador, and just comments around, I don't think they got it straight. And, questioning around Newfoundland tradition and it being washed out, and that when she grew up, it was only Newfoundlanders and Labradorians here. So, that, again, it's two concerning issues. And, this isn't something that was said off the cuff. These were purposeful, intentional videos and content that she created and put out into the world. So, I question if that was her perspective then, what does that say about her role now as the Minister of Tourism, Culture, as you say? And how will that perspective impact the investment that the PC government is going to make in tourism? So that's one part of it. But then also just a question around Newfoundland culture being washed out and only having Newfoundlanders around. Like, I can't help but question, does that mean, does she support immigration to Newfoundland and Labrador? And our culture in this province, it's not only questioning immigration from people from other countries, but, Newfoundland and Labrador, we have thousands of people in our province who've moved here, Canadians from other provinces across the country who bring culture. So just comments around, maybe the government should be investing in a Newfie version of Zumba. So I'm really calling on the minister to clarify those comments. The social media posts have been removed. I don't know, was the Premier concerned about these comments being in the public domain? Is the Premier questioning, the judgment and having appointed her Minister of Tourism with these comments out there? So I really feel that as Minister of the department, she owes it to the industry, to stakeholders. I'm hearing from stakeholders in the industry that they are concerned what this means for her perspective on tourism investment and on culture in the province.
Fair enough. My very first question is, even a statement about I don't think they got it right regarding tourism versus preserving Newfoundland traditions and culture or what have you. I'm not exactly sure what that means. So if it's whether or not she or anybody else understands, or I think my position on tourism is, it's a critical contributor to the economy, supports some 20,000 plus jobs. It's new money to the province, which cannot be overstated how important that is. So that's basically what I want to know. It's just a little bit more of an elaboration, because it's also the problem with, and this is not about Andrew Barber, this is about social media, TikTok, what have you. It's really just built for snippets. It's built for very short thoughts and offerings, as opposed to talking about something that is as complicated as tourism domestically and internationally. It's not really a topic that's necessarily built for 25 seconds on a video platform. And again, that's not about Andrew Barber. That's just about it in particular, which has led us to some pretty interesting things regarding people's attention spans, people's ability to think for themselves. So, and again, that's not about Andrew Barber. That's about how people utilize social media. Especially I don't use TikTok. I only see it every now and then when someone shares a clip on Facebook or on Twitter, but I don't use it myself. I didn't do it.
Yeah, no, everything you said there, I agree. And the videos themselves were longer, than the couple of quotes that I pulled out in the statement that I issued on Monday. And I was able to watch those full videos. And again, as Minister of Tourism now, perhaps she's had time to reflect on those statements. Perhaps she feels that she should clarify what those statements actually meant and put them into greater context. I want her to succeed as minister for the benefit of this industry that means so much to Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, to those, hundreds of businesses and thousands of people who work in the sector. So really, I think that's where I'm at as the official critic. It's not to criticize or scrutinize for the sake of it. I think that these are legitimate questions, and it's acceptable for me and for stakeholders in the sector to ask her and to hold her account to those statements, and to ask now, as the Minister of Tourism, how does she feel about those?
And we're more than happy to have Minister Barber on the programme and we'll have some focus, of course, on this particular story. And again, just offering clarification or elaboration. But then for me, I think I personally need to move on from it to tourism policy into the future. The understanding of the importance of tourism, the understanding of the culture and recreation and arts. Those things into the future, I'd probably offer 95% of the time when I speak with Minister Barber. But her opportunity to clarify some of the questions that you bring forward, we absolutely welcome it, and she can feel free to join us at her convenience.
That's great. Thanks, Patty. And I, too, going forward, I'm very interested to see the PC government, where their priorities are. The District of Gander, for example, the tourism industry is extremely important to this district. And I'm really looking forward to working with Minister Barber so that she can see the value of it and the value of investment and the culture, and how we can build on that here in this district as well as across the province.
Appreciate the time this morning, Bettina. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. And look, I mean, does this require some never-ending examination of social media posts? Maybe for some it might. For me, not really. Some clarification on what Minister Barber actually means by some of the things that she said. Other things that are, in my personal opinion, more frivolous. And people enjoy social media. Sometimes it's a doom scroll, but sometimes it's a welcome relief if you follow certain accounts that are talking about things that you enjoy. Cooking or music or exercise or about culture or about dancing or whatever. Fill your boots, because we all need a little escape every now and then. And I'm not really concerned with the vast majority of that kind of stuff. If it suits you and it's something that you're interested in, why not? Absolutely right. I mean, it's the same thing if I look at a bunch of social media accounts that talk about baseball stats. Some people think it's a complete waste of time. I personally enjoy it. So I don't begrudge people any of their own personal interests. Why would I? Because it doesn't affect my life. It doesn't hurt me. It doesn't hurt my family. So you can do whatever you like. And so I'm really not concerned with some of the other posts made by Minister Barber, pardon me. But some, as it pertains directly to our new ministerial portfolio, why not? We should be talking about that, right? All right, let's get to the break right on time. Mike's in the queue. Appreciate your patience. Mike wants to talk about the seniors benefit. What about it? Really not sure. We'll find out. Let's check in on Twitter. Getting smoked there this morning. Or VOCM Open Line. You know what to do. You can follow us there. Email address is openline@vocm.com. Plenty flowing in there, and certainly plenty of comments about credit card transactions or processing fees. Some people are pointing out it's not necessarily about the call, specifically what Stan had to say about the Canadian Red Cross or We Stand on Guard. It's about sometimes, and this happens in the airline industry as well, you don't know exactly what you paid until you've actually clicked the final button to submit or to donate or to pay, whatever it says at the bottom of your screen. And this is not about that particular concert. That's patently unfair. You should have a detailed sum about exactly what's going to appear on your credit card statement before you click send or pay or donate or whatever the case may be. Not an after the fact. You look at your credit card, you try to make a donation to, I don't know, the George Costanza World Fund, and upon your credit card statement arriving, you try to donate $100 and your credit card says 106. That's not fair. Let's take a break. Don't go away. Welcome back to the program. Let's go to line number 2. Mike, you're on the air.
Good morning, Patty. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. How about you?
A couple of weeks ago, there was a person called into your show regarding the seniors benefit program.
Yeah.
Do you have a contact number that I can call?
Maybe. Let me see if I can find it. And just so we can paint the picture for those listening, the seniors benefit reaches about 50,000 seniors in the province, and it's all based on income. If you have a married or a common law couple with adjusted family net income of $30,078, you can be eligible for the maximum benefit of $1,551. You have to be 64 years of age as well. Let's see if I have an actual contact number for you. I probably do. Here we go. Got it. So people can obviously do it via email, which is the easiest one for most. But here is a contact number. It's coming up here now. So it's part of the Department of Finance at the Tax and Fiscal Policy Branch. The telephone number is 709
709
729
729
Yeah, 3166.
3166. So that's 709 7. I can't make that number.
709 729 3166.
729. Okay, 729. Okay, 3166. Okay, I got a couple of things too there. I missed your program. I missed your radiothon last week on your Kids Eat Smart program. I had donated to them for ages, and so do you have a number for that, for the Kids Eat Smart program?
So donate directly to Kids Eat Smart?
That's right, yeah.
I'm not so sure if I have one on the tip of my fingers, but it's easy enough for me to find one. Kids Eat Smart. Sure, here you go. 722?
1 second now. 722, yeah.
1996.
1996.
Yes, sir.
722. Okay, go ahead.
No, that's it. You got it.
That's it. 722-1996.
That's it, Mike.
That's the Kids Eat program. Yep. And the last thing is, I was listening to the We Stand on Guard there on Monday. The big program, big fundraiser for the people that were displaced by the wildfires and that. And I was on the phone, phoning your number, and I the whole night, and then at 11 o'clock, I had to give up. And so I would like to donate to them that there. So do you know how I would go about?
Yeah, I do.
Yes.
You can go to the Canadian Red Cross.
Just Canadian Red Cross.
Yep.
Yeah. Have any of your callers called in regarding the could you get through the number in there?
I really don't know. That's the first I've heard of it this morning.
Okay. Then just contact directly the Red Cross then.
Yeah.
Okay, my friend. Thank you very much.
No problem, Mike. All the best.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, let's take a break for the news. When we come back, we're speaking with you.
You're listening to a rebroadcast of VOCM Open Line. Have your say by calling 709-273-5211 or 1-888-590-8626 and listen live weekday mornings at 9 a.m.
Welcome back to the program. Yeah, the seniors benefit, I'm not so sure why, but there seems to be some confusion out there about how it works. So basically, it's different from the disability benefits, what have you. Sometimes people conflate them, but they're different things. And so, again, it's all based on your net family income. And for the seniors benefit eligibility is $30,078. So that's the basic starts of it. You have to be 64 years of age by December 31st of a particular taxation year. And it's a floating target based on your income. And the maximum benefit is $1,551. And it comes out quarterly. And more often than not, it's attached directly to the GST rebate insofar as the date goes. So that's one thing. Then I don't know if everybody is aware of some of the other benefits that are out there, like the Aging Well at Home grant, $400. There has been some pledge of doubling that to $800, which has not happened yet. That would have to be done via legislation. But one of the programs that does get overlooked that's directly associated with the Aging Well grant is the caregiver grant. So if you are an eligible caregiver and you assist a low-income senior that has complex care needs, then you can be eligible for a $400 grant as well. So if you're a caregiver, and I think that conversation about family as caregivers is probably doesn't get enough attention that we really should give it here on the show, so maybe I'll devote some time to it tomorrow morning. Also, there's provincial home repair programs. So when you age, you may indeed need different things to modify your home to accommodate, whether it be some of the handles in the washroom or those types of things, or whether it's just basic repairs. So there's a home modification program. There's a provincial home repair program. So if you're eligible for those benefits, please do indeed evaluate or at least apply for some of those other supports that are there. Not everyone applies for all of them, but they're there. And in the world of disability tax credits and the ability to donate to a disability retirement fund, every now and then someone will say, look, I went to the province just to be told that I'm not eligible. The starting point for eligibility for provincial disability benefits and the retirement fund is if you have to, and it's mandatory, that you apply for and are given the disability tax credit federally. Unless you have that, you do not qualify for any of those programs here in the province. So that's where it starts. And on that front, there's plenty of ways to go about it. Even if I hear repeatedly, look, I don't have a family doctor, so how can I go about this disability tax credit application? It depends on your disability. Like, there are different health professionals that can be involved in helping fill out that application for you. And I know Tom Badcock at the Hub does a lot of work on that front to try to help people. So if you have issues with your speech and or walking or things like that, like you might be able to go to a physical therapist or an occupational therapist or a speech therapist. So it kind of depends what your concern is here. But a doctor, an MD, and or nurse practitioner, they can cover it all. So if you think you might be eligible, because I guarantee you there's thousands of people listening in this province and hundreds of thousands across the country that probably do qualify, but they might not consider that their disability is severe enough. It basically comes down to is if it has a direct impact on your day-to-day activities and it's prolonged. It's not like something that's short-term, like you broke your foot. It's something that's long-term, has a direct impact on day-to-day activities, and it is multifaceted. It's not about, severe disabilities necessarily, because as we age, things that really do complicate your day-to-day life and the ability to conduct certain day-to-day activities, it may indeed fall into that category. So it's probably worthwhile to give that a little bit of a closer look if you listen to the show. Interestingly, maybe it was based on the fact that last week I brought up the ongoing investigation into the fire that destroyed the Driftwood Inn over a year ago. So I heard Sarah read the story on the newscast, and we're being told that, yes, the investigations are complex and the RCMP continues to do their work, also with input from forensic investigators, other witnesses, national experts that are part of it. Okay, fair enough. And I don't know how complex those types of investigations are, but it's been over a year. So I think it's coming pretty close to time to find out what went on there. The basic question that I would have before we get the complete results of the investigation is inspections. What type of inspections are in place for places like that, hotels and motels and inns and traditional B&Bs and the like, about egress and for fire suppression and fire sprinklers and or alarms and or extinguishers and lighting, those types of things. We should be able to get pretty up-to-date understanding of the frequency of inspections, who does it, and when something is identified as not compliant, what's done about it, what's the timeline to hit compliance, because a lot of these entities, they require permits and inspections by fire marshals for occupancy and a whole bunch of things. So it's interesting that that was in our newscast today. In addition to that, and people keep talking about it, but mostly just about emails, it's still alarming to me that there were people in Conception Bay North that prior to the massive Kingston fire, because we know the Adams Cove fire, and it happened repeatedly in and around that community, and there were some 12 homes lost in Adams Cove, just about 200 lost as a result of the North Shore fire, the Kingston fire, it breaks my heart to know that people were taking it upon themselves to hide in the bushes or to go to high ground to try to spot a fire that's just been started on purpose by an arsonist, and then consequently with their own extinguisher on the back of their ATV or whatever, able to keep it at bay until the fire department was able to respond. And they say, and this is a bunch of different people say, I was one of those people hiding in the bushes. I reported what I saw and when I saw it directly to the RCMP. And it wasn't just one person, because it's easy enough for law enforcement to hear one complaint and maybe not give it the type of attention it requires, but apparently it was pretty frequent. And now, I don't know if anyone's ever going to be arrested and taken to task, criminally speaking, because of that particular fire, where over 200 structures were lost. People's lives have changed as a school burnt to the ground. But it's something else to know that the warnings were offered, and who knows what level of investigation took place, but obviously not enough to keep it from becoming that massive fire. Let's take a break. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. During the newscast, I was asked by a listener as to how and why we've totally dropped the topic of onshore wind proposals. We haven't. We've talked about it extensively here on the show. But what's interesting about that is the silence of some organizations. As pointed out by Brenda Kitchen with Protect NL, is that you would think the organizations that may be directly impacted, including the Newfoundland Labrador Outfitters Association, they don't have a specific stance or position on these proposals. Look, whether or not they even happen into the future, I have no earthly idea. The offloading infrastructure on the other side of the pond is not there. MOUs can be signed with the Port of Amsterdam, the Port of Rotterdam, and with Germany, but the fact of the matter is nothing has happened on that front. And even the Germans themselves, they consider the green hydrogen as extremely expensive. How do I know that? Because they set aside specific like 1.2 billion euro to help subsidize the cost. So whether or not World Energy or Everwind or anybody has a power purchase agreement, and as it pertains to World Energy, they say unless they have a PPA for no less than 10 years, they will not be proceeding. And so at this moment in time, they don't. So no, we haven't dropped the topic in its entirety. Now, the conversation itself in the industry seems to have stalled. I mean, even the federal government, who were really quite bullish about this, they dropped their forecast. 4 years ago, they told us that the value of the green hydrogen industry by 2050 would be somewhere in the neighborhood of $11.2 trillion. They downgraded that to just about $2 trillion themselves. And that's the entity that was really talking about green hydrogen as the next great thing. Will it be part of a so-called transition? Yeah, probably. To the extent to which the feds thought? Obviously not. Not my words, their words. So, no, we haven't dropped it in full, and we're happy to take it on here in the program because it is a big deal. But again, for whether it be the Atlantic Salmon Federation or the Outfitters Association to not have an actual stance on it or an official position is a bit odd. Now, furthering that conversation as to whether or not the PCs have a different stance on these proposals versus what the Liberals are. And the Liberals were very bullish on it. They obviously were, right? The short answer is I'm not entirely sure, but because of the fact that Tony Wakeham's voting district out in Stephenville, Port-au-Port is right there amongst the largest, one of the largest proposals, when asked, and I'm not going to put words in the Premier's mouth, but we asked Tony Wakeham several times about his position on it, and he never did come out and say that he was opposed to it. It was about process and environmental assessments and what's in it for the taxpayers and how much money would flow to local communities, those types of general questions or concerns. But no, we haven't heard the Tories say that they're completely opposed to them, and whether or not they change that stance in the future, I really don't know. Plenty of folks really displeased that there's any commentary offered about social media postings for newly elected politicians. Some of it might indeed be exaggerated. I mean, I get it. I totally understand. But if we think about it in the broader strokes regarding different portfolios, if there was a newly appointed, and these are just fictionals, if there was a newly appointed Minister of Health that was leaning in on things about medical assistance in dying, or that we should not have any doctors from one country or another, then that person probably wouldn't be the Minister of Health for very long. If there was a Minister of Fisheries that banged on with some pretty bizarre stuff regarding the fishery, probably wouldn't have a fisheries portfolio. So, look, if some people think it's a worthwhile conversation, some people think it's a complete waste of time, feel free to voice either or, because, again, for me, some of it is I couldn't care less. You know, if there was videos about dancing or exercise and it got lots of likes and people were interacting with it, fair enough. Issues that are very specific to government policy, I think are worthwhile discussions, right? Why not? Let's take a break. Don't go away.
The Tim Powers Show. Join the conversation weekday afternoons at 4 p.m. on your VOCM.
Welcome back to the program. Let's keep rolling here. Let's go to line number 1. And good morning, Gerard. You're on the air.
I guess you mean me, Gerald.
Oh, Gerald, sorry. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, good morning, Patty.
Good morning.
Excuse me now, I'm, like I told you, I'm sort of an old man and a bit rattled. But you have the Fisheries Minister interview coming up the week?
We're going to try.
You're not sure?
Not sure.
Okay. Could you answer me, what's the purpose of this interview with the Fisheries Minister?
Well, it depends on which one we get, whether it be provincially or federally. I guess they kind of take two different tacks.
Oh, I was thinking about it on the federal case, on the federal side.
Well, there's obviously a lot to discuss regarding the fishery with the federal minister. Is there anything particularly you'd like me to make sure I discuss?
Oh, sure. There's lots, really. I mean, Joanne Thompson, our minister, seems to have been a bit of a flop from my point of view.
Okay.
If we start with the food fishery, the food, you remember the kerfuffle over the extending the limitations on that fishery?
Yeah.
I mean, that was her opportunity to step up as a minister and exercise her duty and responsibility as a minister and clear that situation up. There was no rationale for what went down with that fishery. We've been through all that. I mean, my point is a case where she failed.
Yeah, well, I mean, whether or not it's a failure, it's pretty consistent with how the recreational food fishery has been handled by successive ministers of both major parties, because nothing's really changed here, which I think is the biggest frustration.
Patty, but that's what I'm saying. This one was a Newfoundlander, which everybody knows. This is a disgraceless one. It was her opportunity. I'm talking about her failure. Like restricted to that. And number two would be when the mackerel. You could refresh me on that now, but it wasn't open. The place was teeming with mackerel. Well, the question is, where is she?
Yeah, the mackerel fishery is only open insofar as it's a bait fishery. That's it.
Yeah, well, I mean, so what? Just about the fishermen do the fishing, not the bureaucrats. They fish what they want. They should fish what they want, at the time they want, and not be governed by bureaucratic restriction. The fishery needs to be overall have an overseer, but to have our bureaucrats managing fishing, that's another story. But I don't want to just diverse a bit. And number three would be the sea urchin. There's somebody came up on the fishery broadcast a while ago, not that long ago, where she advocated responsibility again. You could look at the detail of that. But the woman called in, she was passionate about how the bureaucrats are ruling the fishery. You can get she'll probably come out again, but that's the point I'm making.
Yeah, the one particular specific bay being closed and the sea urchin fishery that could be maintained, that's a very specific one, which we're happy to talk about. Recreational food fishery, I mean, I think the minister was appointed last March, so we're told there's going to be some consultations about next year's recreational food fishery, whether or not that's an exercise.
We don't want to hear that nonsense. Look, we don't know what's the meat about. It's a done deal. This is like talking about fresh air. That's just not. Pardon me. I'm a bit irritated about how we're being treated here, especially in the fishery. And I just don't have time or for patience for fill-in or excuses for them. There's no excuses for them. But they should be held accountable, and the Newfoundland people should demand it. That's my point.
Who's making excuses?
I hope I don't sound hostile or whatever,
You can if you want. It doesn't bother me. So who's making excuses for Joanne Thompson? Certainly not me.
Well, if the cap fits, you can wear it. I mean, you can answer for yourself. That's not my point, really. And one more. I just had a few things noted down. Maybe you could question her on the staff increases at the FO. Over the last 10 years, I've increased 50%. there's a dramatic increase in bureaucracy and a corresponding decrease in fishery. That's just put it in for, if you can make a note of it if you want to use fill time or whatever,
Staffing is a conversation we're happy to have across the public service. That's
a good place to start, the DFO.
Happy to do it. No problem.
Anyway, I see you've got a good opportunity to come on and bring in these subjects about the fishery. Because I think it's essential and of paramount importance to this province,
Understood. Anything else this morning, Gerald?
Well, I don't like to bring up another problem. I just bounce it off you.
Sure.
My opinion, or what I think us here in Newfoundland are losing sight of a valuable resource, not a resource, that we could do and do well, and that's the production of saltfish.
Well, we haven't lost our...
That might be something for some other call, but it seems to me that if we officially adopted going into the saltfish business, there's big markets there, there's big profits there. I think it's an opportunity we're overlooking,
Yeah, fair enough. And I suppose that would be a question for industry, not the minister, because if people wanted to salt fish...
No, sorry, Paddy, I don't mean for the minister. I meant for you, really, and me, we say,
Yeah, I mean, if industry can find profit in a fish stick all the way to salt fish, if they can find a market for it, that they certainly have the ability to do it. I'm not directly involved in the industry, but happy to put it out there like we just did, Gerald. No problem.
That's my point. Apparently there was some fish a while ago, I don't know the exact detail, but it needed to be salted for some reason. They had to ship it down to Mary's Harbour to get the salting. I said, what's going on here, But we had at one time, Joey Smallwood had a saltfish corporation here, And I would the handling saltfish with the old labour intensity and the drying. But I remember that tells how old I am. The Commission of Government investigated having artificial dryers for saltfish, Surely we could come up with some sort of efficient industry to take advantage of the market, especially in these economic times, Paddy. I think it's something that should be addressed, and that's what I got to say about it.
And I appreciate your time. Thanks for calling.
Okay, goodbye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Quick note on saltfish. I've used this example in the past. This is a number of years ago now. At the time, grade A cod at the wharf was getting 50 or 52 cents a pound. We were in Florida right after the price was set, about a month later, so the product was hitting the shelves in the United States. And in the grocery store, the first one we went to, I was just curious about how much the fish was. And it was a product of Newfoundland, and it was $19.99 a pound. And the fish harvesters that exact year were getting 50 or 52 cents a pound at the wharf for grade A cod. Amazing stuff. And another quick one on the fishery and DFO. It was very vague, but when asked, then candidate Mark Carney was asked about DFO, and he made some brief reference to possible restructuring of the organisation. No real detail about restructure what or for what intended goal, but he did make mention of it. So it would also be interesting now, all of a sudden, as the elected party, as if there's any more detail or meat on that particular bone. And, of course, get plenty of emails on it, but it's the whole concept of floor crossing, specifically Nova Scotia parliamentarian Chris d'Entremont, who left the Conservative Party to go to join the Liberal caucus, and then Maz General, who simply resigned his seat, didn't cross the floor. And it's the possibility of more of these floor crossings to happen. And consequently, if two more happen, then, of course, all of a sudden a minority parliament becomes a majority parliament, which is much to the chagrin of plenty of people who contact us. Let's get a break in. Don't go away. Welcome back. Let's go. Line number 2, Eugene, you're on the air.
Good morning, Patrick. How are you?
Doing okay. How about you?
Not too bad. I'm pulled over now. I'm on the TCH. Patty, I just want to let the public know that there's a section of highway just in the area of Welcome to Scenic Green Bay, which is about 5-6 kilometers east of Southbrook. Now, that section of highway has been a terrible section of highway in the last few years, and I've been lobbying to try to get the brush cut, and thank God they have cut the brush, which is a good thing. But unfortunately, we had I think it was 3 people died. I know there's two crosses there now. I just passed it in the last 3 years. So in that area, so it's a danger zone. So what I have done, because I'm on behalf of the concerned citizens, I have sent an email to the Premier and to the Minister of Transportation, and I've got a response that they acknowledge my email. So I will keep lobbying and try to get fencing in that area. Now, I know it's going to be a concern for the people that cuts wood in that area, but anywhere there's a woods road, like on the West Coast, they put in a gate, so that should be taken care of. But Paddy, it's a dead trap. I mean, I just passed the wall back there, and there's a moose there, and I mean, there's moose there all the time, and I mean, I'm getting calls, I'm getting people even sitting down having coffee in Lewisport. I mean, there's people saying I almost struck a moose last night on the way from the airport in Deer Lake. So that's an area that needs fencing. If there's 3 people killed and all these accidents and sightings, that is a prime spot for fencing. You know what I mean, Paddy?
I do. We have an email address set up for that specific thing, and news, tips, or what have you. Every single show between 9 and 12, I can say safely that I'll get 10, 12 of those emails that make its way to me about moose sightings every single morning.
It's unbelievable. I've been at this since 2002. I had my moose accident in 2002 by Goobies. And I haven't stopped, as you know, and the people of this province know. They call me the Moose Man, but I don't mind that. And I tell you, this fall has been the worst fall on record, because I does a record of all this stuff, because I got all books on all this stuff. This has been the worst fall on record for moose vehicle accidents. And it's hard to believe it, because, I mean, the hunting season is open, and, like first when the season starts, you said they're driving off the young. But no, I mean, here it is November, and we're still having moose accidents. My grandson was behind a vehicle there by Lewisport Junction a couple of nights ago. Big old crash, I shared it on Facebook, actually, the blood on the pavement and all that stuff. So it's major. So the government knows, wildlife knows, transportation knows where the worst areas are. Now, the Premier did say, and I got no reason to not believe it, in election time, that he's going to continue with the moose fencing and grub it off and seed it, which needs to be done, because that was cut just a couple of years ago back there. And now it's starting to grow up. Now, where that accident was to by Lewisport Junction a couple of nights ago, that was cut 2 years ago, and it's up about 5 feet now. So why not do the job right? That would be the start. Grub it off, seed it like it does in other provinces. And we're absolutely necessary, like by the sign, welcome to the scenic Green Bay, fence it. So they got, it's important. It's got to the point now, Paddy. It's very, very dangerous to travel after dark. I mean, it's unbelievable, right? I know I don't if I don't have to. So I just want to let the public know that on behalf of the concerned citizens, this province, I'm working on this, and I'll work my butt off until we can get that done.
The only question I would have about area-specific fencing is that, it's the same thing with the extension of the fence close by where I live. So it gives you that sense of additional safety, and of course you can indeed see a moose on the highway side of the fence, because the fence ends at some point. So in area-specific fencing, would we simply be pushing the problem a little further down to where the fence ends and the moose can just get out and cross the road? That's the questions I would have about, this bit of fence here, bit of fence there.
Yeah, no, in other provinces, because I've traveled and checked this out, they do put the overpasses for the animals, but I don't say you'll ever see that in this province. It's an expensive venture, but they can angle the fencing at the end. And yes, a rare occasion you will see a moose on the outside of the fence where it's not supposed to be. But I tell you, I keep in contact with the West Coast, and that's very rare. 99% of the time, the moose is inside the fence where it's supposed to be.
Oh, yeah. I understand that and I believe that. And, places that have spent copious amounts of money on protecting the motoring public from big animals is like when you go through Banff, it's unbelievable. The amount of money spent on an underpass there is remarkable.
I know. I traveled there not too long ago. yeah, it's unbelievable the money they got to spend it. But I guess, if you're going to save people's lives, it's worth it. I mean, you got to do it. If you're going to keep the 130,000 or whatever moose in this province, you got to protect you and I. I mean, like I said, the next person killed could be you and I. Pray God, it won't be, or a family member. We don't want that to happen. I mean, we got children, grandchildren that travels or whatever. I mean, we lost 2 19-year-olds last year. I mean, just not too long ago.
Yeah.
It is unbelievable. But anyway, I will keep lobbying on behalf of the people, and I am concerned, and the people are concerned, and hopefully we will get fencing in that area by Welcome to Scenic Green Bay, especially the east of that sign, because that's where the crosses are, and that's where we see a lot of moose.
Appreciate the time, Eugene.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, my brother.
Welcome.
Thank you to VOCM. Thank you to you and David for taking my call. Appreciate it.
Happy to do it. Have a nice day. All right,
Yeah,
bye-bye.
you too.
Yeah, and I mean, my youngest came into town a couple of weekends ago, and I mean, he's training to be a pilot. I'm more worried when he's on the highway than when he's in the sky. And when he came in I guess it was last Thursday, a half hour behind him was a pretty significant collision between a vehicle and a moose in Terra Nova. And again, we get these news tip emails. There's a bunch of different emails. And some people send me notes that they really are supposed to go to the newsroom because it's about something I have no control over. A general email address here where we all get to see it is if you email feedback@vocm.com. So we'll all get it. If it's a newsroom concern, you can use that. I'll see it as well at that point as too. But those news tip emails, it's every single day. I'll see a dozen of those just between 9 and 12. Oh, Dave wanted me to read another number out here. I forgot to do it, but I suppose I can do it now. And it's about contact for the seniors benefit. Where did I put that? I suppose I can find it here somewhere. It was 709-729-3166 if you want to send an email looking for information or to apply for the seniors benefit. If you have an adjusted net family income of $30,078, you could indeed get it. All right, good show today. We will indeed pick up this conversation again tomorrow morning right here on VOCM and Big Land FM's Open Line. On behalf of the producer David Williams, I'm your host Paddy Daly. Have yourself a safe, fun, happy day. We'll talk in the morning. Bye-bye.